And we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of A Bookish Moment. My name is Sarah.
And I am JC, and it is Tuesday afternoon, and it's the best time of the week because we have a super special guest with us today, Sarah. You want to introduce the fabulous, wonderful
Jennifer J. Chow.
Yes.
Yes,
Woo-hoo!
we're really excited to have Jen here today with us. We are celebrating the release of her new LA Night Market mystery, Hot Pot Murder. I can't wait to talk about this book and all of its yummy goodness. Jen, thank you so much for being here with us this afternoon. Any chance that we could get you to share a little bit about yourself with our audience members?
Sure. First off, thanks so much for having me. It's really a pleasure to be on here. What can I say about myself? I write mostly cozy mysteries, filled with hope and heritage. So I have the most recent series, which is the LA Night Market series, set in a night market setting with two cousins. At the heart of it, they run a food stall together, and they have opposite personalities. So they're not only thrown together and running the food stall, but they have to, get together and solve cases as well. So that's really exciting. I am currently president of Sisters in Crime, which is a fabulous organization. If you're not part of it and you're interested in crime fiction as a reader, as a writer, please join. I'm also a blogger on Chicks on the Case, chicksonthecase.com. And we are mystery writers with a killer sense of humor. We blog Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays.
Love it, love it, love it. There is so much that we could cover talking with you today, Jen, but we definitely want to celebrate the most of Hot Pot Murder. But quick shout out, your organization, Sisters in Crime. JC and I have talked about that multiple times on the show. Absolutely love it. Encourage all of our writers, aspiring writers, and readers too to check it out. But Hot Pot Murder. If you could kind of set the scene for us, Jen, this is book 2 in the series. So we've had a little bit of time getting to know our characters, Yale and Celine. The book is told from Yale's perspective. And your introduction where you talked about like total opposites. These girls are so much fun. Tell us a little bit about how they came to be the sleuths in your new series.
You mean how did I get inspired to write about them?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, just clarifying. Well, I think part of it is, so I grew up in a family restaurant. We owned a family restaurant. We served Chinese food. I actually worked with my cousins there. So I think a large part of it came from this food industry background and the fact that I was really around family as I was essentially growing up in the family restaurant, because I worked there ever since I was in elementary school and like all the way. And so I think that family piece definitely inspired it. And then I also really wanted to write this like odd couple dynamic and have these opposite personalities. You can kind of get a sense of who they are. So let me give you an example. In the first book, it's called Death by Bubble Tea. They're thrown together to run the night market. Celine is visiting from Hong Kong. Yale is American. And so they're thrown together by Yale's dad to run this food stall. And they're tasked with bringing like essential items to the food stall. And what Yale brings is she brings like a stack of cookbooks, for the food stall on the night market. And Celine comes and she has this box. She opens it up. And inside are chef jackets, but they're not like regular chef jackets. They're like bedazzled, like bejeweled ones to wear. And that kind of gives you a sense of like their personality and how they work or not work together.
I will freely admit Celine is one of my favorite characters in the cozy mystery genre. I absolutely love her. And the way that she's such a great partner to Yale, because Yale is... she's going through a struggle. She's recovering and trying to deal with the grief from her mom's passing and trying to find her way in life. And so when we originally meet her in Death by Bubble Tea, she really needed someone like Celine to be there for her. And I just think that their camaraderie is so wonderful, and it only gets better in book 2. So if you can, without like spoiling too much of the events of book 1, would you like to set the scene a little bit for our viewers about how Hot Pot Murder maybe gets its name?
You can probably tell early on in Hot Pot Murder how it gets its name, and also on the cover, there's you can here's the two cousins and eating hot pot. If you haven't had hot pot, it's like you have this like big pot in the middle, and there's like broth. And you bubble the broth, you get it super hot, and then you cook your vegetables and your meats in it. So in Hot Pot Murder, it's probably right there in the title. They're having hot pot dinner, but it's not just the cousins. It's the cousins and then a local Asian American Restaurant Owners Association. And they're all gathered around this nice hot pot meal. But then the meal, as it does in murder mysteries, the meal turns deadly. So that's the hot pot murder. And the president of the association ends up having a fatal and shocking end to the dinner. So that's kind of what happens. It kind of teasing.
The scene is set like almost immediately, and cozy mystery lovers are just going to they're going to devour it because it is just such a charming setting. Yet it's set in the heart of LA. And I think that is one of the most clever things that you've done with this series, because, when you think of LA, you think of this sprawling, huge city. And it's like, okay, well, how does that equate what we like traditionally think of for cozy mysteries? But you've created this really small, close-knit community with the night market. And I'm wondering when you were first kind of beginning to come up with the idea for the series itself, how did LA become the home base for you? And what were some of the challenges to kind of make it fit into the cozy mystery genre?
Mm. Well, I for sure wanted to set in LA. I'm from LA, right? So I wanted to set it in a place that I know and am familiar with. And definitely, I think my publisher was on board with having what's called urban cozies, which are set in urban areas. But I wanted to have that community feel that happens in a cozy. And so what I thought was, first, I'll make my own fictional place because I have murders, so I want a fictional place. So I'm like, okay, I'll make a community. So first, I have the larger planned community. It's called Eastwood Village, and the night market is Eastwood Village Night Market. So what I did was I kind of made, there is a place called Westwood in LA, and it's near UCLA. So I flipped that and made it Eastwood Village, but I also made it a planned community because there are several, towns and cities nearby that are planned, and it's very much like we'll make everything these nice shops, and we'll make it like things accessible, like walking distance and stuff. And so that's kind of, I wanted that small community feel. And so that's how I made that village. And then the night market, even though it's a night market with different vendors and stuff, I made that row of food vendors where Yale and Celine are part of, kind of like as neighbors, right? Food market, night market neighbors to them. And so I thought that would be great because that's also like a community at the heart of the book as well.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
And one of the things that I think is really cool that you've done is having two sleuths working together. We oftentimes think, whether it's not just cozy mystery so much, so I would think it's fair to say most of the time when we're reading mysteries, we've got our main protagonist and it's an individual that may have a sidekick, but you've really got two people on kind of equal terms. Could you talk about how you came to having the dueling cousins working together kind of thing?
Well, I love the idea that they are dueling cousins. I love that they can have their own their arc to grow, but that growth is actually organic. It's for the relationship with each other too, because they bring out these things in one another or realizations in each other because they're partnered together, and because they kind of have to be partnered together as family, right? They have to they're thrown together as partners. But I think they come to like a sweet appreciation of each other and of the relationship that grows. And that's that was why I wanted them to have sort of like the equal partnership, so they could bring that missing piece of the other person and bring these like insights based on their relationship.
I think their dynamic is so fun, and it does feel organic, and just them being together. It's just such a fun adventure. And we have a lot of folks chiming in our chat.
Yes.
Farmhouse Reader, Mark Baker, Mizan. We have DHB, Paula, Karina, Elle, Christina. Everybody, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Mark says finding cozy community in a large city. He loves when authors do that. So to go back to the setting a little bit there. Yes, so thank you everybody for joining us live. Can we talk about the food, please? Because I feel like that was a character all on its own. And I highly recommend reading this book. I recommend that you either have a snack ready to go, or that you have eaten and you are fully like, you don't have an empty stomach. Cause I was like, at points, it's like, oh my gosh, this food is just like so mouthwatering. The descriptions, the enjoyment that everybody got over food was just so heartwarming and relatable. And so I would love to hear a little bit about the different entrees that you were selecting to put into Hot Pot Murder, or if there's a particular one back in Death by Bubble Tea that you'd like to talk about. I'm just fast. The food was just like, oh, so wonderful.
Thanks. Well, I'm definitely a foodie, so whenever I can put in the food descriptions, I'll tend to put them in. And also, coloring a cozy is the subgenre, so of course there's got to be food. So I'm like, oh, they have to have food to eat, they have to have food to snack on, and so I love just throwing that in. The hot pot is actually, because it's a tradition in my family around the holidays, it's sometimes hard to actually make like a huge meal for everybody. So actually hot pot works out really well, because you can just prep everything and then people can put in whatever they want and cook it and eat it together. And it's always hot because it's bubbling. So that's kind of how I got the hot pot in there. And then the other meals I feel like are just things that I enjoy and want to throw in there. Sometimes it's stuff from specific to dim sum, because Yale's dad in the books owns a dim sum restaurant. And so I love like putting in like different little dim sum tidbits. Yale also has a personality assessment scale based on dim sum. So she'll characterize people, as like a certain dim sum dish. And so I'm like, this is great. So I can tie it into like how she thinks about the world around her. And then I can also put in all the food that I like as well. So that's definitely it. And then I, just some things are things that I reference to because I like them, or hidden, also hidden spots too, which is not sometimes food related and sometimes not, around LA that I like to throw in there, just for fun.
Are they real locations in LA, or are they like plays on existing ones?
Sometimes it's plays on existing. So some of the restaurant names, like in this book, a lot of the restaurant names are fictional because all the restaurant owners are of this fictional organizations, but which is great because this is like double the food, because the suspects at the dinner table are restaurant owners, so they all have their own specialty that they can throw in. So that's fictionalized the restaurants, but some of the locations that they visit that Yale takes Celine on, because Celine's visiting from Hong Kong, she'll take her on like little tours of LA, like those specific places are actually real.
Well, I just want to say real quick about the food is that living in the Midwest, no spoiler alert here, the culinary opportunities are not what they are in New York or on the West Coast. So one of the things I think is so wonderful about these books, it's the opportunity to experience foods that you can get some of these kind of things in Indianapolis and in central Indiana, but it's hard to find. And so it's one of those things. It's like, I get to travel someplace, and experience new and different things that just, it's the good old Midwest flyover country. We don't really have it. So I just want to, say thank you for giving us that, those of us who are in situations like mine, that opportunity to experience these things secondhand. And like Sarah says, the descriptions are so there that, it's like I'm eating with my imagination.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's like a virtual food tour in each book. Oh, but you can make it real because there are also recipes in the back. So, you can put those together and you'll be able to actually taste or drink.
That is true. Yeah.
I will say and I want to talk more about the food cart that they have at the night market. But the chai was just like, oh my God. I have been craving that ever since I read this book. And I just I can't, and probably is where I live because I live outside of the city. So my culinary options probably aren't as authentic. But I haven't had a chai that's hit the spot the way your descriptions made that the chai that Yale is creating feel. So again, well done. And for folks who are culinary cozy mystery lovers, this is for you. It's a treat. But can you tell us, Jen, a little bit about the food cart and how, number one, how the girls came to be running it, and also the any research that you had to do on your end for any of the different foods or drinks that are being featured throughout the book.
Well, so the food part came because the stall is actually an offshoot of Yale's dad's restaurant, and so he's running his restaurant, but he's also been offered to start this stall at their inaugural night market in book one. And so he doesn't have time, right? He's running a restaurant, so he's like, yeah, you can do this. And not only that's whoa, great, your cousin is here fortuitously, and so she can help out too. And so that's how they get to running the food stall, and because it's so successful eventually, right? After they deal with the murder in the book one, that they can continue running it together. And so that's kind of how the food cart came to be. And I put different references in there. The first book is actually dedicated to my husband and brother who kind of came up with this fictional name for the food stall, but only because of for fun. And they called it Chennai and Chai, which is roti canai. It's like a flatbread. You dip it into curry and chai. And then in book one, the joke is Celine made up this name just to make it catchy, but they don't actually serve those. But then in book two, there is definitely chai, and there's a recipe in the back, and it's great. It's actually a tweaked family recipe. And one of our relatives is from India. So then I asked her for her recipe, and then I got it and I tweaked it. And so that's what's in the back of the book. So yeah, I just really liked making this food cart because it's an homage to kind of the travels I've been on. And then I got the recipes based on different experiences that I've had throughout my life. So the cucumber salad was something that I made in my family, particularly for my dad who likes spicy. And if you like it spicier, then make sure you increase the chili oil in it. But those were sort of the inspirations behind some of the food offerings. Did I answer your question? I feel like I got lost in the food.
No. No, you totally did. And I'm curious, and maybe this is because right now I am in full on editing mode where I'm just cutting things out right and left. I'm curious if there are any dishes or entrees or drinks or what have you that were originally a part of the story but maybe got axed or are getting tabled for something later, or how did the dishes that are in the book make the final cut, I guess?
Well, there's certain dishes that I definitely wanted to represent in Hot Pot Murder, because they have different restaurants and they have different whatever, the ramen restaurant, that different types of Vietnamese, different types of cuisines that I wanted to pull in, things that I enjoyed or things that were unique and that I'd heard about. So those made the cut depending on what I appreciated and what I thought would be interesting to describe and to sort of taste through the pages. For the recipes, it's actually a little bit harder because it's kind of based on like what can I actually replicate. And so for example, the roti canai was really difficult for me to like actually create. So then in this book too, you have a recipe for scallion pancakes, which is sort of like adjacent but not quite the same, because I could actually craft it. And so I think maybe I'm more selective with the recipes that get into the back, because I have to make like multiple versions of them and then test them on my loving volunteers that are usually in my family, and they have to like eat or drink the thing over and over again. So that's kind of, I just kind of do that for the recipe. So that's how I wrote those out.
Well, I just want to say here real quick, Jen, just to reassure you that getting lost in food is never a bad thing on this show. In fact, I think Sarah would agree with me. We encourage it every chance that food comes up, because, hey, gotta love to eat. But kind of back to chai real quick. That reminds me, Sarah, of something that just shows how awesome Jen is in another way.
Oh yes, in especially a beverage theme way.
Yes.
We want to talk about the giveaway that we are doing today during our Bookish Moment. Jen has graciously given a copy of Death by Bubble Tea, so folks can start the first book in the LA Night Market Mysteries.
Yes.
This is for U.S. residents only. So folks, if you would like to enter in for the chance to win a copy, in the chat, make sure you're logged into Google, YouTube, what have you, so that you can enter in the magic word, which is hot pot. And I was telling Jen and JC earlier, I cannot say hot pot without like doing a shoulder shimmy. It's just like so fun, which really is like the spirit of this book. Fun, but also like so heartwarming, so touching. Absolutely loved it. While we have folks entering into the giveaway, Jen, can you talk a little bit about what is next for Yale, her dad, for Celine? What's coming next in the series without too many spoilers?
Yeah, well, I need to know too, so I'm not sure right now. That's a good question. I don't want to spoil the ending. So I do have ideas, so we'll see where that goes. But I'm also working on a different series, so I'm doing that as well. So I think.
Can you talk a little bit about that? We can definitely explore what else is happening in your world.
Yeah, that's probably going to be up more quickly because it's a new series. It is the Magical Fortune Cookie series.
Oh,
so it has, so it's got the food and the magic, and it has like a mother and daughter running this bake shop together, and the daughter makes fortune cookies, but they're magical, so they actually really do have predictions that come true.
Oh my goodness.
But maybe not in a good way in that first book, right? So the first book is called Ill-Fated Fortune, and it will come out in February of next year.
Oh my gosh. That seems like it has everything I love. Food, magic, bakeries, like, oh my gosh. Murder. Murder. It's always weird to talk about how much we love killing people, but this is this is going to be four series, Jen?
This is going to be the fourth if you include my first indie series.
Okay. Wow. Now, can you share like a little bit about how this idea came to you, and like a magic fortune cookie? That sounds like the coolest thing ever.
Sure. Well, I think my agent and I were discussing ideas of we had multiple ideas. So we had ideas for the night market, and then we had, oh, do we want to do a different series as well? And so we were kind of running through ideas, and I was like, I would love to have the same foodie elements. And she was telling me, oh, have you ever thought about like having magic thrown in? And I was like, you know what? I have thought of some things. And so I kind of like pitched her a couple ideas, and she's like, oh, this fortune cookie one, that sounds great. And so I just kind of developed that world and the characters, and then pitched it more. And she was like, that sounds great. Let me go write a proposal for it, a series proposal, so you can actually create not the whole book, but you can create sample chapters and put it in a package and send it off to publishers, and then they can tell you if they like the concept or not, which apparently they must have, because yay, I have a new series coming out.
That is so cool.
So cool.
One other quick question here. Unfortunately, our time is running short with this new series. First book comes out early next year. Is it set like in the real world, like say in LA-ish, kind of like say Lucifer, or is it kind of more in a fantasy world that you're going to introduce us to a whole new world?
It's more set in a real place, so maybe a little with magical realism. So it's set in Central California, near Fresno, but it's like a small, it's a small community, cozy community, and but then the magic, of course, separates it out from the real world.
Yeah, very cool.
Well, we've got a lot of people excited in the chat about it too, so that is going to be super fun. We've got Mizan saying they love magical realism, can't wait for the new series. Lots of folks are very intrigued by it, Jen. So, and I cannot wait. But what we must do, because we really are, I tell you, these moments just fly by. I could be bookish all the time, but unfortunately, our show is coming to an end. Can you tell us, Jen, what is next for you in terms of, are you going to be at any conferences, book signings, book events that folks can find you at in person, or if online, where they should go to connect with you?
Oh, sure. I feel like I have a couple of things coming up. So for local-ish things, I'm gonna be first off, everything you can find probably on my website, jenniferjchow.com/events. So I have 2 bookstore things coming up in my area. One is actually in person in Huntington Beach, where I'm doing a dual event with a debut author. And so that will be the end of the month. And then next month, I'm actually doing like a panel thing with another Orange County bookstore and a book carnival. The first one was Mystery Inc., second one was Book Carnival. And then I also will be at different conferences. So probably my next one will be BoucherCon. So that will be in August. So find me there. You'll most likely find me at the Sisters in Crime table, but I'll probably be around too. And I should have some sort of panel, because Death by Bubble Tea got nominated for an Anthony. Yay! And so I'll probably be in a panel there. So that'll be great. And what else is coming up? I feel like I have a couple more things, but they're like farther down the road in fall.
It sounds like a lot to celebrate, and rightfully so, because you're amazing. Your books are amazing. We've had an amazing time chatting with you. And we are just grateful that you've shared your time with us this afternoon. We're grateful to our viewers who joined us live. Thank you guys for being here and showing your support. Our giveaway winner for a copy of Death by Bubble Tea is our fake drum roll, Elle Hartford. Congratulations, Elle. Elle, if you could email us at giveaways@thebookishhour.com, your mailing address. I'll make sure that Jen gets that. Congratulations. And Jen, congratulations on another fabulous release. Yes. I know that you're like in the whirlwind tour of post-release, and hopefully you're having a great time, because it's a great book and absolutely love it.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I appreciate being here. this is the fun part, just like being at these events and being with bookish people who love to read. That's like the sweet spot.
I couldn't agree more.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
of course, we would love to have you back the next time that you have a book to celebrate.
Yeah, please.
And until then, wishing all of our viewers a wonderful rest of the week. We'll be back for another episode of the Bookish Hour this coming Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, everybody, stay bookish. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks for joining
Thanks,
us.
everyone.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.